Okay, so good evening and welcome to General Council of January 25th. We do have our agenda available online for this evening, and I'll first begin with number 1 on our agenda, which is identifying of any media on the line.
Victoria Gray from the Turtle Island News.
And Donna from the Two Row Times.
Good evening, Victoria and Donna. Thank you, Nyawa, for joining us. Also, just want to say Nyawa to Amber Squire for providing, again, the opening address to our meeting prior to our live stream. The next item on the agenda is any changes, additions, or deletions to the agenda. I see a couple hands being raised. I'll first begin with Michelle.
I'm just asking, there's an item in camera that I think should be in the open because the last presentations we did were in open. It is agenda item number 4.
Yeah, I have no problem looking to full council on that item to transfer that to the open. Is there any opposition?
I have no problem.
Okay, is there any opposition on the line to transfer number 4 from in camera to the open session? Okay, seeing or hearing none, then we'll move recommendation 4.1 and 4.2 into the open session. Okay, the next item, sorry, Michelle, was that your only item?
Yep, thank you.
Okay, thanks. Sherry Lynn?
I'm good, thanks.
Okay, all right. Is there anything further than for the additions or deletions to the agenda? Okay, seeing or hearing none, then I'll look to a mover and seconder to adopt the agenda with the one change of the in-camera agenda item 4.1 to the open session. Is there a mover? Moved by Michelle, seconded by Sherry Lynn. Are there any further questions or comments? Okay, seeing or hearing none, then all in favor? Any opposed? Seeing or hearing none, motion is carried. We do have a delegation this evening that's going to be joining us. It's members of the Governio School Project Design Team. And I'll first, just before I do begin, or rather pass it over to Ruby Jacobs to speak, I will also just inform that we did have another delegation, which was the Six Nations Sports and Cultural Memorial Center delegation, who has informed us again that they will not be in attendance this evening due to a passing of their team. And also just want to give and send our condolences to the Stiers family, as Vera Stiers was a part of that delegation. And really just want to also send my condolences across to those who are hurting in our community. There's been a lot of sadness in our community. Just really want to acknowledge and hope and pray for brighter days ahead. So just wanted to inform council on that as well. So our first and only delegation then will be the Governio School Project Design Team. And with that being said, I believe we've met a few times, but if you, Ruby, maybe I'll just leave it over to yourself to introduce some of your members of your team for the community as well. And we'll get right into discussion. So over to you, Ruby.
Yeah, well, Mark, and we really appreciate the opportunity to bring council up to date on where the project's at. Our consultant, KL Martin, and team have been really working hard, and it looks like we can see an end with the preparations in sight. So, and that's what we're going to present to you tonight, to bring you up to date on exactly what's been going on. As far as who's on here, I'm going to have to let them introduce themselves because I can't see who's on, Mark. So of the board, go ahead and introduce yourself. Is Elva on?
Yes, I'm on with Selva. Scan out Swagwego.
Okay. Rose? Rose Miller,
I don't see a Rose Miller on the screen. I see a Roxanne.
okay, Roxanne, do you want to introduce yourself?
SNGREC, it's Roxanne. I'm not on the board. I'm the board secretary and human resources at Gowanio.
Thank you, Roxanne. Is Christine on?
Yes.
Yes, hi, I'm here. Scanos
Okay.
McGoy, Christine Jacobs. I'm on the board.
Okay, is Cecile Alcoenzi on?
She's not on.
Okay. Who did I, oh, Jim Woodruff, you on?
Hello, yes, I'm here. Scanos Watwego. I'm James Joseph. I'm on the county board.
Okay, thank Jim. Arnold Junior? Is Arnold
I don't-
Junior on?
No, I don't think he's on.
Oh, probably will be joining. And then, let me see, then I think Kevin Martin's on. I saw him.
Yes.
Kevin Martin, Kale Martin
Yeah.
Associates, Precision Engineering.
Just you there, Kevin, or you got some fellows with you?
Oh, Fred's on.
Good
Okay,
evening, Fred Doolittle, Gale Martin Associates.
all right. I think that might be all of us for now. Or who's that talking? Is it?
Well, I think that's just feedback. So if I can
Okay.
get everybody who isn't talking, if you could put yourselves on mute, that'd be really helpful as we go through the presentation. So just want to say, Nyawa, Ruby, I think it's always nice for community to see, the faces who are all a part of the team. So back over to you, Ruby. Nyawa.
Okay, our team, we have this school building team that works with KL Martin on the development of the project as it goes along. And we also have the bigger team that's working hard to have this school happen, and that would be with the counselors on. And we have appointed from the Six Nation elected council. There's Audrey Paulus Bumbry, there's Hazel Johnson, there's Sherry Lynn Hill and Melba Thomas. And from the Gowanio side, and HCC is Gloria Thomas and Cleve Thomas. I don't know if I got to, I might have made a mistake there, but Cleve and Jock Hill, Leroy Hill. So that constitutes our whole team, and Kevin Sandy might be on. He's our consultant that's been handling our communications and helping us with that. Are you on, Kevin? Okay, I guess he's not on it, but we'll go ahead now because this is going to take our time. I know that we have half an hour booked. So we'll let Kevin start. He's going to take this because we wanted our consultant to present to you because we wanted to be as accurate as possible with where things are exactly at, so you get a good handle on it as you go forward the fight for the funding for the school. Thank you for listening.
Okay, thanks, Ruby. Fred, do you have our present? I think we sent the presentations out yesterday, a copy of that. There we go. Fred's gonna do my screen for me. So this is, I'd like to thank everyone for allowing us to come to council tonight to present an update on the KG school. We'll try to be as quick as we can to get through the slides and be available for questions afterwards. We'll just slide. There. So essentially what we've been doing is there's been three main things that occurred with the school since the past year that we've been involved with. Is one, we've it was agreed, and all this, everything that we've been doing, we've been talking to the project team. So they've been involved with this, the board and the project team, providing directions as we go along. The three main things is, one of the ones is update the drawings. We were given the direction to proceed and complete the drawings at 100%. So we're currently working on that. We're going to be doing is there was an allocation of $2 million given to the board to initiate some of the site work. So we have a plan on that going forward, which we'll share. And the other one was had to update the PAR and the feasibility study design brief. So we'll try to give you a quick summary of those. And I think Fred was going to take over from here. I lost my screen, Fred.
All right, give me 1 sec. There's that back.
There we go. So I'll just quickly go through. So what happened is, in April, the most significant thing that happened with the project is just recently, last April, Indian Affairs updated the school space accommodation standards. Those standards are what consultants are allowed to use for design for program areas and in designing the schools for any First Nations throughout Canada. So the original design was done to the 2016 standards. In 2021, when Indian Affairs updated and provided new standards, it was agreed that we should go back and make the KG school more current to accommodate those standards. I had a discussion with one of the senior Indian Affairs officials. That's supposed to be Jody Nibs. Sorry for that mistake. And he had mentioned, since this project didn't have a feasibility study, that we should go back and update the design brief to match the project approval document. So that was another project that came out of this. And then the third one was the allocation of the $2 million. So that's kind of what happened with this project. And that's why we are here today, to kind of give you an update where everything is. Hey, Fred.
Okay, so the next screen here, I'll just give you a quick update on the status of the working drawing. So ALMC, along with our architect that we've used all along, Pauline Reed Architecture, retained to update and finalize the KD school design drawings and specifications. So back in 2016 or 17, I think we had the drawings. They were probably about 85%, 90% close to completion, but everything kind of got put on hold. So we were retained to go back and finalize those drawings. In addition, KLMC was requested to revise the existing plan to incorporate the recently changed school space accommodation standards, as Kevin mentioned. Pauline Reed, the architect, prepared a revised floor plan that incorporated the new SAS areas, which resulted in an additional 293.1 square meters, or 3,154.9 square feet of floor area of eligible ISC funding. The revised layout was approved by the project team, and KLMC provided a quote to revise the drawings to incorporate the new floor space, which increased the school size from 40,000 square feet to 45,445 square feet. Estimated cost, and we'll have to go back and get this revisited now that the building's been, the size has increased. And as most of you, I think, are aware, construction dollars right now are pretty volatile. They're up and down, but we had estimated the project to be 16.4 million prior to the building increasing in size. So once we complete the design drawings, we'll go back to our cost consultant and get them to give us an updated cost estimate. So the previous footprint of the building, as I mentioned, was 40,000 square feet. And this is what it looked like. We have down this side of the design, we have all the elementary, JKSK up to 5 and 6. And on this side, we have high school, 7 and 8 through to high school, gymnasium with change rooms, stage. And then centrally located within the building, we have all the administration, principal, finance, some additional offices, a library, computer lab, as well as a kitchen and washrooms located centrally. So when the new SSAS areas came out, what that did to increase the floor area, it added this space out front here. You can see this line here. I'll just draw it on. This was where the existing footprint of the building was. So we added on, the architect renovated or revised this area to incorporate everything that we had previous, and also included for that additional space, which was cultural, I think the nurse's office, and I think there was another piece of floor area that this was going to fund with the new school space accommodation standards. So this is the area. We tried to minimize as much change to the drawings as possible. Instead of adding on this wing or that wing, we tried to incorporate as much changes within the existing footprint as we could. Again, this line kind of gives you an idea of what's additional. So the new floor layout gives us a reception area, principal's office, vice principal, finance nurse, counseling, 4 KG TRC offices, a larger KG TRC area that's already existing in the existing school, library, 3 resource offices, and as a cultural component, the design of a room that's going to be comparable to a longhouse. So this space here, we're trying to design to, I guess, envision that room to be a longhouse. Seating on the sides, doors coming in from the outside to the inside. And yeah, and as I mentioned, everything else in the school really didn't change as far as the design goes. So proposed schedule for the design drawings, we're hoping to complete the design drawings by the middle of March. We are pushing our staff as well as our sub-consultants, mechanical, electrical, and structural to get back on this to try to get everything done and ready to go. Currently, with the changes and the revisions and updates onto the drawing, we're about 60% complete. The specifications for the project, we're hoping mid-April to have those all done. And once we have those drawings updated and we have the specifications finalized, we'll be able to put together a cost estimate, a Class B cost estimate for the project. And we're hoping to get that done by mid-April. And then yeah, be ready for tender by the end of April. Again, as I mentioned, the Class A estimate will be provided once everything's done. Based on current market price, we've been seeing costs are extremely high for construction right now. Using a $375 square foot cost at 45,445 square feet, we're looking at a $17 million building. Again, that 375 a square foot could end up being $400 a square foot. We'll get a better idea once we send out to the cost consultant. KLMC provided a quote of $88,830 to update, finalize existing drawings, prepare the new concept according to the school-based accommodation standards, and got approval for the additional design for that area. And to date, we've invoiced $25,322.95 towards the project.
Okay, so that was that's the update on the drawings where we are. So in terms of the next one we want to talk about was the site works. And this is First Nation Engineering is there was an allocation of $2 million towards the construction of the new school. So we came up with a plan on how we could spend that $2 million, given we're looking at a $17 million project. And essentially, we looked at a number of site works that could be done this current year. Try to use the available funds so that we complete all the site works and as per the detailed drawings of the site plans for phase 1 site works. So the following components is what we intend to get done this year. So we have a design that's almost complete. The guys are working on it, that we hope to put all the granular driveways and parking areas in. There will be no asphalt. We're going to do the water main within the existing school site only. The wastewater service pipe will be on site. So basically all site services inside the proposed school site will be done. Stormwater management components, storm sewers, catch basins, all the underground work, site grading, perimeter fencing, and everything's going to be capped basically away from the school area so that it won't interfere when construction of the school starts, whether it be this fall or next year. So we can have that out of the way and protected. There's a chart, a figure that shows the plans for the phase one. So under phase one, all the colored, this is the proposed design for the school site. Everything in color, the blue, the red, the purple is what we're proposing to complete, and the green, excuse me, under phase one or this year. So we're hoping to do all the granular B for the drives coming into the school site, have you do the granular driveway base to the back. We're going to do the stormwater, which is the purple. So we're going to put catch basins in the soccer field and around the track. Around the back, we're going to have the catch basins leading out to the front with the outlet with a head wall and right to the property line. And we're also going to bring in the hydro service in red out to a conduit by the school with another stormwater drain there. So that picture is basically that is the work that we're going to be supposed to do for this year. Some of the work that will not be included, because I think our site works was estimated to be $3.5 to $4 million. We can't do everything. So we won't be paving the driveways. We're going to leave them with a granular B so we can put a 2-inch lift of A on it so that it won't, the construction trucks and cement trucks won't interfere or contaminate the B. We were hoping to do the water main and the wastewater force main from the school site along Tuscarora Road to 4th line. But due to the high cost of PVC pipe in the scheduling, we don't think that there's enough money to accommodate that. That's something that's new to the KG School Board, because we've been talking to them all along and telling them that we thought we had enough money in the budget to do that. But based on our latest estimates from First Nation Engineering and the contractors, we don't think there's enough sufficient monies to do that connection. So we'll just connect it on the school site. We'll have provisions in a contract that if we get a good price, we may be able to extend the water and wastewater to 4th line, but we'll know as the contract's left. There'll be no concrete curb sidewalks, there'll be no final site grading, garbage bin, no connection to the wastewater system, sport field, the culture, landscaping, site electrical. So all of this work is when the new building gets approved, all of this work will have to be included in the new building. So the schedule for phase one, they're hoping to have the civil, these are the site works drawings. They're hoping to have them done within the next 2 to 3 weeks. We'll do the tender documents review meeting end of February with the KG School Board. We'll tender the project hopefully the month of March. Have a contractor selected by early April. Hopefully we'll begin construction May with a 6 to 7 month construction schedule 2023 or 22, and the 1-year warranty period ends. The one thing that may affect the schedule is I'm sure everybody knows there's a shortage of supplies and PVC pipe, and we're experiencing that on many of our projects that they seem to need a 4 to 6 month window for any material, any underground piping. So this may have an effect on that, and it may extend longer, but we'll have a contract in place for it. Quick financial summary of the site works. The Class B estimate for the complete site works is 5.6 million without a contingency. So the current work that we've estimated for under phase one is about $1.8 million without a contingency. So that should take into account the $2 million that's been allocated. Again, there's construction materials extremely high, so we have to update that to Class A once the tenders is completed, design's completed. And the contract with First Nation Engineering for the tendering, design, contract admin, and inspections is $152,800, which leaves approximately $1,847,000 remaining for phase one construction work. So we're within the budget, and we've invoiced about $20,340 to the towards project. So the other part, I'll try to get through this quickly. Warren South working on this. I'm not sure if everybody knows, but this project was set up differently. There was never a feasibility study that was done when the project was negotiated, they jumped right into design brief, and then they went into drawings. And since then, we've always had to go back and negotiate with Indian Affairs for approval. And they've always looked for a feasibility study. So just, I guess, a year ago, 2 years ago, they asked us to kind of come up with a feasibility study to ISC funding submissions, which was just done. So we were retained in February to update the redesign of the school, including the design brief. We were changed to ISC asked us to include the feasibility to ISC funding submission requirements for their approval. So the design brief was completed last year according to the pre-designed study template that Indian Affairs has, and they're titled there as follows. So we're currently working on that now. So the design brief was completed last year. And what we've done is we include an examination of the provincial school space guidelines or their funding requirement for provincial schools. And we do a comparative analysis to the ISC funding format, just so that it provides a First Nation in the KG school or more substantiation in terms of funding and negotiating for the funding. So that's entitled Building Our Schools, Building Our Future, report from Expert Panel on Capital Standards. That's the provincial standards. ISC updated the school space accommodation standards again last year, which was really the reason for all the change. It was decided to go back and look at eligible funding, so we had to go back and update drawings and update the design brief. And then yep, that's it from there. Okay, but so no, sorry, Fred. Oh yeah, is this the next one? Okay, yep, design brief completed. So we've done that. We also have to retain to revise the KG school design brief in November. So one of the things that we're going to do is we're not going to go back and look at the existing population enrollment projections, because we're trying to get this done as quick as we can. If we have to go back and redo the population projections and enrollment projections, there's going to be more cost, more time, more review, and more questions from ISC. So we're going to use the numbers that they approved and just continue and bring forth everything from there in the design brief. So when you're wondering what the difference was, these are the school space accommodation standards are called, or SAS. In 2016, the school was designed and design brief was done according to those numbers. And then they've changed them in 2021. And essentially, Warren did the breakdown of where the additional square footage is in square meters. And essentially, there was another 325 square meters that we could have increase the building by. So as a result, it was decided to go back and upgrade the school, increase the school to try to get the eligible funding for that. So as I mentioned, Warren Salt from our office, he's our technical writer for this project. He's working on the study, the feasibility study, and the project, the PAR, it's called, a project approval request. So since then, he's done the reference to the school space accommodation standards 21. He's updated that. He's also done the revisions of the area allocated for the school space accommodation standards. He's done the comparison of provincial and federal space requirements. He's basically looked at the functional requirements of the program requirements, and he's also going to look at the school space requirements of the area based on functional requirements for provincials and the feds. So this is just the work that we've done. Like we had to wait for the design brief we had to wait for the drawings to get completed and the site works to get completed before we can complete the design brief. So we're a little bit behind on this part of it. So we still have to do the qualitative analysis for the same program requirements, and again, the same school space accommodation standards. And we'll be doing the risk assessment for both those areas, the program requirements, as well as the SAS standards. And within the design brief, we'll still have to do the completions of the site work cost estimate. Once we have a tendered price, we could insert that and we could use some of those numbers to update the site works cost. And we'll do a financial analysis for alternative one, which is the area based on the program requirements and also the school space accommodation standards again. We'll do a financial analysis comparison, value for money analysis with a recommendation, and we'll establish a school construction budget with a cost consultant, which will provide that. And we're hoping to have this design brief completed by February, mid-February next month. And the last part of this project is there's a PAR. Now, to get money out of Indian Affairs for either major, I call them Indian Affairs, it's ISC, but to get money from ISC for any major capital project, you have to do a project approval request. It's called PAR. So we were asked to put one together for the schools so we could go in for and start the approval process. So we've started that. That has to be done after the drawings, after the site works cost estimate, and after the feasibility study update, which we just went through. So there's a template again, and there lists there's the items what we have to show and expand on it. And it's it'll be based on the approved design brief, which we're working on. We're hoping to have that done by the end of March. And there's our budget that First Nation for the design brief and the PAR documents is 32,003, of which we expended 7,000. There's a remaining amount of $24,000 yet to do. So I know that was a lot of work there, a lot of information, went through it quick, but to summarize, our drawings will be done within the next 3 months. We'll have a complete set of drawings ready to go, shovel ready. So when you go to Indian Affairs or funding, we could say we're shovel ready and we could start the school within a month or two after approval. We have to get we'll get another construction cost estimate by a cost consultant, but at this point we're identifying those costs about 17 million. So we'll have to update that. The allocation of $2 million will be spent for phase 1 of site works by October 2022. I just went through the plan for that. So currently this will reduce the overall estimate to approximately 15 million for completion and identify $2 million contribution from the First Nation. In my discussions with ISC officials, they said they would look at that very favorably. The fact that the First Nation put $2 million of their own funds already into the project and could lead to a quicker approval. So it's something that we'll have to put through in the PAR document. The design brief and PAR documents will be revised and updated to reflect the new school space accommodation standards. So basically after this, I think we're ready for ISC discussions and follow up for approvals. So I know there was a lot to present and but we felt at the last meeting, they wanted to set meetings up with Indian Affairs to begin the next phases of construction. And I said, we felt it was important that council knew where the projects were. And that's our presentation. So I know it was a lot, but if you have any questions, I'll be glad to try to answer them.
Okay, well, Nyala, Kevin, and Fred and Ruby for providing the project update. Just to also, I know Ruby, we've tried to from our office, Tammy, in terms of communication back and forth with the board. We were able to secure a meeting prior to the holidays with Minister Haidu on this obviously project, but I think what the outcome of that meeting basically was in terms of, as we're all aware and was communicated to us, the federal government funding on schools is they're at their cap for this fiscal. Obviously, we'll look into the next fiscal and so forth, but one of the items that they did communicate to us was maybe perhaps in terms of the proposal, not necessarily put it as a school build, but rather into the cultural component pieces attached to the learning center. So I guess more of the cultural piece would be the kind of driver to help assist in getting funds flowing quicker, so that they can go and look to the other ministries that have funds available for cultural components to bigger projects. So one of the ministries that was communicated to us at that time or at the meeting prior to the holidays was the Ministry of Heritage. And so they were really looking to see whatever ministry was able to, come up with funds for this fiscal, be able to look at the bigger total number of the project. That's what maybe the board or the project team could look to consider, in further discussions as well. We do have a follow-up meeting. Our office is in communication again with Haidu's office to follow up on that specifics so that they could assist us with setting up further meetings with the different ministries and ministers of those. And so that's something that our office is going to continue to work on as well, to continue really just that political advocacy, asserting the pressure. Because again, we know how far we are in the project and how favorable it was for our council to give money to the project, and that was something that Minister Haidu had also alluded to, just that fact. So that's something I'm not sure if the board or the project team wants to go and further have discussion amongst yourselves to see just in terms of that political strategy and how we could further, speed up the potential of getting funding quicker. But that was the last that we had heard from our meeting with the minister. And again, our goal is to have that follow-up meeting by next month so that we can have more of a concrete political action plan for, and maybe that's even an opportunity for the project team and members of your board, Ruby as well, obviously, to be a part of that follow-up meeting so that, again, we're all on the same page in terms of next steps. So just thought I would add that to the conversation as well. Is there any further questions or comments, or maybe even Ruby? Not sure if you have any further comments or.
I would like to ask what rationale she gave for not going for the whole bit, because really, Mark, there's the whole idea of this being all these years trying to do this, and in light of all the happenings with the residential school system happenings and the whole support for all the cultural opportunities through these the reclamation and all that stuff on DRIP and the support for it. I just don't understand why we can't get a straight out meeting with them and get it approved. This is a way to restore the culture language. I would think this would be a real attempt by all the politicians, because they've all been down. All of the ones that deal with education have been down here to look at it. They know the situation, and it's really hindering the school program to go forth. We can't send them there. We can't even get the air exchangers that have to go in and all the changes that are required from COVID, because they just aren't making enough for us to get it, and they're very, very delayed. So this is really tough for the board they've been years. I don't know if you appreciate that, but they've been years. Like Alva's been involved 40 years trying to get a school. Now that is just unconscionable. So this is why I don't understand all this sending it off everywhere else, when they announce even in that same letter that was sent millions of dollars, and yet they say they got to find dollars down toward the end of that letter. How do they explain things like that? That's what I'm wondering. And on behalf of the board, we're really, really disturbed by the fact that council hasn't even been able to get a straight meeting with them just to talk about it and include us, like to help this happen. And this is for all the whole reserve. By keeping this school, the culture language, that's where the people are, the knowledge carriers and the speakers are coming from. So please help us with that. We want to get a meeting with, not be sent all over the place. Get a meeting with those who have to deal with this and see why they can't do it.
Great. Yeah. So, and again, I can obviously appreciate all of the work that has gone into this. I think we're all on the same page when we talk about, the need for the school and the support needed for our students and families who are attending the school. I think again, from our meeting prior to the holidays with Minister Hike, it was a straight out answer to say that it was capped at this fiscal year. Now, again, that's we've laid out basically all of what you've just said in terms of the Canada's plan of reconciliation, the residential school system and the impacts that it still continues to have on our communities today. We've definitely conveyed that same messaging to them, and I think it was more on the lines from their response to us. Not to more or less give the runaround, but to try to look to the different ministries that could assist them now to get funding out of this fiscal. And so I think that was something that they had committed to rather, to assist us. And in terms of the meeting setup, that's where I feel like the follow-up piece will take place in February, so that we will have our office make sure that the invitation is sent well in advance to your board and your project team, so that we can be able to have this just really one-off topic meeting, particularly with the minister's office. That was the quick meeting that we had prior to the holidays, was a few items on that agenda, but mine, again, this one being the priority. So I think a next step follow-up is to have, again, that one-on-one with the minister's office and your board and project team to further convey the importance of the need for funding for the school. So, we are continuing to do, that political push in work so that we can see this funding and get the school completed. I see Councillor Wendy has her hand raised.
Yeah, thanks. I think we need clarity on what the role of council is at the board's request, especially regarding funding, because I don't think we should be asking anything unless it's what the board wants. And what I hear Ruby saying is that the money should be coming from ISK, and it should be that very direct role. But so getting clarity on if we can look at other strategies, because my understanding and what you're saying, Mark, is that if it's a dual ask internally within the ministries, if there's weight with Heritage coming forward, making the argument about residential school, about language, about all of those pieces, joined with is that may be a stronger way to get funding through and get it through faster. That was my understanding, but if that's not something that the board wishes to do, then I think council needs that clarity.
Yeah, that you raise a good point. I was just under the assumption of the board wants funding and the school built ASAP. So that was just more or less how we were trying to get creative in that sense. But by all means, yes, for the clarity, if that's not the route of what the board wants.
Well, we've said right away, all the way along, we think the government of Canada has the funding that a huge amount of funding that belongs to Six Nations. Why should we be begging and scraping about getting funds? This is unconscionable to leave those children in this unsafe environment. If anything happens to any one of them, we'll all be vulnerable all the way up the line. And it goes for our program funding too. We need adequate funding to do this. It's just like continuation of the residential school system when there's limited money and no place to hold your programs. That's where we're at, folks. I wonder if Elva or somebody else would like to speak too.
I can hear what Mark and Wendy are saying about looking at like other ways of like getting parts of money to accommodate the whole thing. But I think the building committee needs to sit down and talk about that. The board needs to make a decision on that. I don't think that's something that we can do right now. But I think to flesh it out more, and also to be able to also to find out where are those pieces sitting? You know, we're talking about, okay, we might be getting something from Heritage, we might get something from, you know, from the residential school and the Truth and Reconciliation. I don't even know if they even have anything now. Or looking at those things, where would we get pieces of it so that we can all add up? And I know we had put in for that green school and things like this. So I think it's something that we need to take a look at all of that. We can't just make a decision right here and say, let's do that, because, you know, like, because how far will it put our project off as well? So there's a lot to consider. And but for me, it's just like, we just got to keep going forward. We got to keep going forward. It's like there's no, that's just all there is to it. So that's all I have to say, you know, other than I just want to thank Kevin and his team and Fred and for doing all the work they did. And you can see from that presentation how much work has already gone into this project. So I'm banking on that to help us. And so a lot of that kind of work is done. Now we just need to access that. And I hope that the councils will be able to support us all the way through, you know, like both councils and you know, however it happens, you know, we have to get that school there. So, and you know, like, and I hate to say it, but I mean, if we're gonna call our territory here, Haudenosaunee, where does that come from? Where does the idea of Haudenosaunee come from? It comes from our own languages, and it comes from our way of being. It comes from our culture. But if we don't have a place that can accommodate those ones that are learning, like what is that then? What does that tell them? What does that tell those students, those young ones, the ones that are into high school? So I don't know. There's lots to think about, and so I just want to plant that seed there. But I know for myself, I got to keep going. And like I said before, I've been doing this longer than Mark has been alive. And then Mark. So I just gotta keep that focus and keep moving however we can do it. But I would like us all to work together. It's not a battle of nothing. It's just, let's get together and get this done. Because it is dangerous over there at the school, as far as even air quality. We've had our health and safety people come through there, our public health come through there, and they know what it's like there. And we need to find a good place. And why shouldn't they? Why shouldn't they have a school? And then I think too, when we take a look at our path here, this is where we are today. And we have to be able to come together and say, this is where we are, let's go forward. And now we just got to find a way how to go forward. And if we have to take a look at, okay, there's money here in Heritage, there's money over here, there's this part over here. So how do we access that to bring it all together for us? Which is going to be the best way going to accommodate everything? What is going to be the best for us? That's what we got to take a look at. This isn't about, that's what it's about for me anyway. So that's all I have to say. But I'm really thankful for all the work that Kevin and his crew have done, and for the board members and even past board members and other people that have been working on this for years. So that's all. Now for allowing us to come on and share our views, and I'm pretty sure we've gone past our half an hour or however much time we had. But I want to say Nyawa for allowing us to speak and for us to be heard by this council. Nyawa, Danito, that's it.
Okay, I'd like to add one point
question?
on this.
Hey, Rob,
Sorry.
just one quick question. You had
I was
mentioned
just going to
that,
say one thing before we move forward, was to say, you know, that could be another tactic sending us all over through these other other entities. How come they're not coming forth? They could send that all out themselves to them and get an answer there. Just like the whole thing was changing the accommodation standards, was that we were all approved to go in 218, and then that comes and we got to redo that. These are tactics they use, and we just need to go and talk to them. We haven't had that opportunity to try to go straight forward and talk to them. So I'll just leave that with you. Go ahead, Bob.
I just had a question. You said that they've already said that there's no money left in this fiscal year. That means that from this January, from April, that's the fiscal year. That's when they said there's no money up until that point. And if so, the next term from that point on, does that mean that there is going to be money available to just hand over the 15 million?
Yeah, and that's what we were trying to get to at the bottom, of that as well at the last meeting. But they, not really a straight answer for that piece. However, was told that again, a good, when the shovel ready, when you're done phase one and all those pieces, that is favorable to funders, and so that's where that we've kind of had that at least guarantee to say that there is a substantial amount of funds for the next fiscal. It's a matter of then now looking to see how we access those.
Chris, do you have anything to add?
No, I'm good. Everyone said everything.
Jim?
No, thanks. I think everybody is.
Okay, thank
Done
you,
a great
Rose.
job.
Rosa, is Rose on now? No? I'm sorry, I can't see who's on. That's why I'm asking. Okay, then, but we really implore you, council, to lead us for a meeting. Let's take them on straight on and see if we can get some answers without being sent everywhere else or some other block they think to come up and put in the way so we can't go forward. I don't know if Larry's on our meeting here, Larry Brock, but he met the board and stated that he might be able to bring this on to the parliamentary floor if he had the information. So we invited him here to hear where the project is, and we're providing him with the case for support, so he has the facts of the whole history right up to present day, and that he can make a presentation on the parliamentary floor. He agreed that he's the representative for us in this area in Brant to take our issues to the government when we need it. So he's willing to do that. He was solid with that when he met with us.
Exactly. So I think just Ruby, just to kind of look to next steps in some of this conversation. Just on Alva's points, I wholeheartly agree. We're trying our best, and we'll continue to do the best job that we can to make sure that we see this school built like ASAP. Yesterday, rather, years ago. And so I think if we can look to again that creativity on how we our political approach to this, and I'm glad Larry had the opportunity to meet with the board and so forth, because we also had the opportunity to meet with Larry, and this has been a priority for our council in any discussion that we've had with government. So the priority list is there. We've been maintaining as best as we can the importance again of this school and what it means to our community. And I think with our continued pressure that we assert, we will get to where we need to be. And I think that's where, for next steps purposes, we'll have the board, yourselves, the board of directors, and as well as the project team, those available to join us in that next meeting with Minister Haidu. And so that would be the opportunity again to have the time to speak directly with the minister and even further lay out the importance of the school and what it means to us. I think again, with Larry as well, it's important to also have the opposition to assert pressure You know, and so that's something that we'll continue to do, and we'll continue to advise Ruby, yourself, and the board well in advance of that meeting date, and so that we can be able to you know, further advocate as best as we can moving forward. But we're all on the same page. We want this school built as quickly as possible, you know, and we're going to try to continue to do whatever we can to get it built. So again, just really appreciate all of the work.
And I have been, there's people on board that are out there in the, you know, in Canadian society that are supporting us. And like the George Best and the Mennonites that he's works with, they're all supporting. They're going to be sending letters of support, and Kevin's been working with various people to gain letters of support. So there's a growing political support behind this to inform the government that this is a school that really needs to happen. So and ASAP, they've wasted so much time trying to get it, and it was ready in 2018, and then another thing came up, like those standard changes, and they said they had no money. So that will just keep going on if we don't take the bull by the horns here and you know, bring our issue forward in a way it can be positive. I want it to be positive too. I don't want to hurt anyone or anybody. I'm thinking we're hurting these children and their families, and in the end the whole community. So that's where we have to be. We're supposed to be the leaders of the community, and that's our responsibility to see that things happen for the community. So anybody got anything else to say on the board? I know I'm losing patience because a lot of in my former life, it wasn't easy trying to get those programs, and you really have to get at it. Stick in there, get at it. Don't, you know, when they start throwing all these diversions in your way, you have to be able to stick handle. Okay, thank you very much for hearing us.
Yes, now Ruby and Alva and all those on the line, Kevin, Fred. I know again it's going to take the community, all of us, to see this through. I really we are committed to do our part as best as we can.
Yes, we need you guys, so we're there. Let us know how we can help you anytime.
We can do it.
So I'll follow.
Yep.
We can do
So
it.
much. So
I
I'll
know we
follow
can.
our office. Ruby will follow up with you for next month once we secure the date
Right.
with our follow-up Minister Haidu, and then we'll go from there.
Thank you very much. Nyawa nyawa.
Okay, Ona.
Okay. Mona,
Thank you.
Yawa,
Thank you. Take
Kevin,
care.
Yawa.
Thank you, Kevin.
All right, thanks.
Okay, Council, that leads us into our next item that we have on our agenda. So that completes the delegation portion of this evening. So I will look to the adoption of the General Council minutes January 11th.
I'll move.
Moved by Michelle, seconder. Second by
Yeah,
Sherry
I'll-
Lynn. Any further questions or comments? You see or hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Seeing or hearing none, motion is carried. We have number 6 on the agenda, which is a recommendation from the Ethics Committee. It was moved by those members, but we'll need another mover and seconder on this recommendation. I'll look to, sorry, is it mover and seconder, Wendy and Nathan? Are you looking to move in second, or your question or comment? Question, comments. Okay, sorry. We'll start with Wendy. Over to Nathan.
So I'm surprised that this is back on the agenda. It was on at the last meeting, and I know Nathan was acting, so I certainly had some concerns about it, and I think it was put off the agenda. There are some alarming statements in the draft that's been provided about who the leadership is in the community and some of the descriptions. I don't know where they got the information, but I think there's, I have a lot of issues with the draft and what it says. And I don't understand the project itself, because on one document, it says that it lists the authors as the researcher, Colin Gibson, Sarah Smith, Lori Davis Hill, Don Martin Hill, and a number of others. And on another document, it lists public works staff as the authors and lead. So it goes all over the place. On the wastewater project itself, it talks about Steve Lickers, Michael Montour, Steve Lickers Jr. as the project partners. So I don't know who's involved with this. I don't know what's going on with this project, because I think we have about 3 water projects on the go. So, but my biggest concern is this draft paper, and I don't know if it's already been released, but I think we need to take a strong look at the language in it.
Thank you, Minnie, for your concerns, and definitely what you're speaking of here in the document. Nathan?
Just in terms of the follow-up on this, one of the things that was requested was that the individuals listed in terms of the admin staff pull together and come to assist with this presentation as well. I'm not sure if that was done, but that's something I think would certainly benefit the presentation, just to kind of close some loops off, is to have those admin staff with us to kind of help us walk through their role and the McMaster's role as well in the project. So that was something too that I think we should follow up on.
Okay, I appreciate each of your concerns and definitely see and highlight what you're speaking of. So I'm wondering then, at this point in time, is there any opposition to defer this item until we can have that opportunity to get more further clarity on this recommendation? Is there any opposition to defer this item? Okay, I'm not seeing any opposition. So what we'll do then is look to do, again, our side on the admin to look to this recommendation. So at this point in time, I'm going to defer this item until we have all necessary information that's requested, and potentially also have those join who could speak even further better to the actual specifics of this project. So if that's okay with council, I'll defer this item until our next meeting when we have all of necessary information. So sorry, if you could just make note of that as well, Shirley. That's a good. Okay, that leads me into our next item then, council, which is just under scheduling. Yesterday, obviously, we had our political liaison. This evening, our general council. Leading into the beginning of February, where we'll have our human services, following the week of general finance on February 7th, as well as our next general council on February 8th. I do have one other new business item that was transferred from in camera to the open session, which was requested by Councilor Michelle. So I will look to recommendation 4.1, which is a recommendation from our Six Nations Police. To the elected council to appoint Lucas K. Montour as a Six Nations Police Constable for the Six Nations Grand River Territory, and recommend the Commissioner of the Ontario Provincial Police appoint Lucas K. Montour under the terms set out in the Six Nations Policing Services Agreement. So that is the recommendation. Is there a mover and seconder to that effect?
Aren't they usually present for this?
They usually are. In fact, I was supposed to text our chief of police, but he's with us on another issue in camera. But they usually would do like an introduction. So perhaps maybe after this appointment, we can look to have them formally introduced.
I'll move.
Moved by Helen. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Sherry Lynn. Any further questions or comments? Okay, seeing or hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Seeing or hearing none, motion is carried. A motion to waive second reading.
Move.
Moved by Helen, second by Carrie Lynn. All in favor? Any opposed? Seeing or hearing none, motion is carried. Okay, that does complete our agenda for the General Council again of January 25th. So just want to say nyawa to each of you for joining us this evening, and please stay safe and take care. And we'll see everybody at our next live stream.